Hey everybody, welcome back to Video. So today we're going to be doing a series on the Steam Deck, more importantly what emulators you should be playing, what games you should be playing on them, and how to get them set up. And today is one of my favorite Sega boards of all time. We're going over Sega Model 2 emulation because EmuDeck just recently updated to 2.2. I've already done the Sega Model 3 video, so it's time to step back one generation and do Sega Model 2. Before we get too far involved, it'd be a huge favor, down below hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. And honestly, Sega Model 2 has some of the best Sega arcade games of all time on it. While I have had this emulator running on my Steam Deck for some months via a custom installation, I wasn't really super comfortable teaching it to you guys because it was fraught with issues that you could make. But now that the emulator is here and set up via EmuDeck, I feel like everyone's going to have some success if you just follow along with the tutorial. And do be aware that if you've updated your EmuDeck, you're still going to want to go down into Manage Emulators, click on the Sega Model 2 emulator, and make sure it is installed. If it says install, go ahead and do that. If you're having any issues getting games to boot, just click uninstall and reinstall it. This is still the early days. It should be fixed by the time you see this video, but if you're having any issues with the games booting, just uninstall and reinstall the emulator. Now on an external USB drive, I created a folder called Model 2. This is not essential. This is just so we can keep it a little bit tidier as we move the files over. And you'll see that all of the games are in a .zip format. This is how the emulator wants to see them. So do not unzip any of the games you're sending over to your Steam Deck. That will cause them not to work. Leave them as zips and you will be totally fine. So all you're going to do is copy and paste those over to whatever way you want to send these files over to your Steam Deck. Again, I use a USB device, and once they're all copied over, you are good to go. And I know you can download these on your Steam Deck desktop OS with a browser. I just prefer Windows because I know it's what everyone's comfortable with. And while these games aren't the largest in the world, you can always use Model 2 emulator on your PC to test all your files. If they don't boot on here, they are not going to work on your Steam Deck. If they boot in Model 2 emulator on your Windows PC, you'll be totally fine and have success when you send them over. But I'd say 9 times out of 10 when people have issues, it's because they have bad files that they did not test. Now all of my tutorials are predicated on using a dock. I'll leave a link in the description below to the one I use. Honestly, it's not an affiliate link. I don't make any money. It's just something that I have available that I know it works well. And if you don't have a dock for your Steam Deck, Model 2 games and everything else are as much fun in your living room on a large TV as they are in handheld mode. It is great to have both options. Now take that USB device, whatever one you use, and plug it into the dock and go ahead and click Mount and Open. That will open up to the root directory of that mass storage device. And you're going to see we have the Model 2 folder here that we just had on our Windows desktop with every single game we added still in zip format. One more reminder, just leave them as zips. That's how it is going to work. So all we're going to do is go ahead and copy these files over to where they need to be on our EmuDeck installation. For me, that's going to be an external micro SD card popped into the back of the Steam Deck. For you, it might be on the actual Steam Deck hard drive itself. Just go ahead and remember where you put it. I can't answer that question for you. So we'll pop over to my removable devices, and you'll see here that we have the emulation folder for EmuDeck. Go ahead and pop into there, and just so you know, there is no BIOS necessary whatsoever for Model 2 emulation. Don't worry about a BIOS, it's not necessary to get these games running, so that is one less step you have to worry about when you're dealing with Model 2 emulation. So if we pop back into the emulation folder and go over to ROMs and scroll down, you're going to see a folder for Model 2. Just make sure you're paying attention because there's also Model 3 and you don't want to put the games in the wrong spot. I would say a lot of times when people have issues with games, it's either the files are bad or they didn't put them in the right folder. You'll see here all of the different files necessary to actually run the emulator, and there's going to be a ROMs folder as well. Put all the zip files into this ROMs folder. That's all you need to do to get the games in the right place. Make sure it is in the ROMs folder though. That is where the Model 2 emulator is going to look for the games. If you put them anywhere else, it will not find them and it will not run. You'll see here we now have all of those files from the mass USB device into the right folder on our EmuDeck installation, so we can pop back into EmuDeck, open up Steam ROM Manager, and get these games into our library. Just make sure you use the little warning here to understand that the controls are going to change ever so slightly. That does seem to trip people up. And by default, the parser should be turned on unless you turned it off. You can scroll down and look around. You see there's the Jaguar, the new emulator. But Model 2 and Model 3 parsers are on by default as well. So go ahead and just hit preview and then hit parse. This is going to bring up all of the different games in your library, and there is a drop-down menu for Model 2, but you'll see here that the games that should be appearing, like Manx TT, are appearing, so we can just go ahead and click Save to Steam from here. If you want to change the artwork, you can. I'd say about 80% of the game titles subtitles and the artwork came over correctly, and for arcade stuff that is relatively impressive. I'd say on Model 3 it was only like 20% that actually worked. So now that we've saved all those games to Steam, we can just go ahead and leave Steam ROM Manager, and we can go ahead and close EmuDeck as well, and then we'll just double click on the return to gaming mode so we can actually enjoy these games on our Steam Deck. And they're going to show up in your library under collections. You're going to see Sega Model 2. It's not Model 2, it's Sega Model 2. So go ahead and pick whichever game you want. You'll see some games didn't get their artwork, but for the most part, it worked relatively well and it was successful. And there's so many fun games to play on Sega Model 2 emulation. Takes about 5 to 10 seconds to get into the game, and you may see and notice that it's downloading new Proton information in the background. Even if that says that an error is out, it's totally fine. Just hit OK and relaunch the game a second time. That may be fixed by the time you watch this, but I wanted to give you a fair warning. It may download some new Proton emulation stuff in the background. Takes about 30 seconds. And once you do that and you get into the Model 2 emulation, is every bit as good as it is on a PC. This isn't the highest test emulation. Pretty much any decent PC today can emulate it at full speed, but obviously being on the Steam Deck is just one more layer of fun. And I will say the sound emulation as well in Proton sounds great. Go ahead and listen for 30 seconds. I'll come back with more tips.
Very long, easy right. Long, easy right, maybe. Very long, easy left. Check one. Medium left.
Sounds great to my ear, but let's talk about the big elephant in the room, and that is light gun games on Model 2 emulation, because the #1 game on this system for me and basically everyone else has got to be the original House of the Dead. I absolutely love this game. It's one of my favorite light gun games of all time, and it is very easy to play on Model 2 emulator, but the default control configuration, at least as of the recording of this video, has not bound all of the inputs you're going to need, and it's going to keep the game from actually being playable. Maybe it's fixed by now, but definitely watch this next segment. You'll see here that once I actually empty the clip, I'm not going to be able to reload. It's going to tell me to shoot off screen to reload, but that's not something you can do on the Steam Deck. By default on the Model 2 emulator in Windows, if you're not using something like Gun for IR, you need to hit the right mouse click. That is not bound, so you're going to come into the button layout and you're going to go ahead and hit edit layout. You can pick whichever button you want to be the right mouse click. For me, I really enjoy L4, which is where my finger naturally rests. You'll come up here to mouse and you're going to bind that to the right mouse click. Now if we go back into the game, you're going to see that I can unload the clip on the zombies, hit that button, and I now have a new 6-chambered bullet round ready to go. But honestly, you're using your right thumb for the trackpad, and the trigger is also going to be A. This is not the best setup, so what I'm going to go do is bind another of the controls to the A button, giving it a better layout for my finger. I made it R4. That way I can use my thumb to go ahead and move the reticle around, and then I've got a left and a right index finger trigger on the back of the Steam Deck for reload and for fire. This is what works for me. You can do whatever you want. I'm just telling you right now that on light gun games, in the current configuration, the right mouse button is not bound to anything, and you need to make sure that is done, or else you're not going to have reload. And I did try to tap the little trackpad button. That did not work for me either. You can increase the trackpad sensitivity to around 175 if you want a faster moving target, or you can leave it at 100%. Honestly, for this game 100% felt good. For Rail Chase I preferred 175, but your mileage is going to 100% vary. Now getting out of the light gun genre and into the fighting game genre, Virtua Fighter 2, this seemed again just perfect to me on Steam Deck. You can rebind the controls however you want as far as the 3 buttons are concerned, and honestly the Steam Deck D-pad is totally serviceable but not great in my opinion, so my gameplay here is not going to be as good as it should be. But the great part is if you are docked and you have an arcade stick, something you can plug in via USB, you're going to have an even better time. But Model 2 emulation is very mature. It is closed source and it's not in active development, but it runs every single Model 2 game you would ever want to play, and having it over on Steam Deck means you can take every single Model 2 game with you if you're on the train, a plane, in a car, as long as you're not driving that is, and enjoy every single last one of them. And that's so much fun because you guys have been asking for Model 2 and Model 3 tutorials for a very long time. And while I could have taught it to you on the old manual installation route, I just thought that 9 out of 10 people would not be successful with that. Now with this incorporated into EmuDeck, if you follow all the directions here and rebind the controls for the light gun games, you're going to have an absolute blast. There's so many incredible Model 2 games to play, and if you've never played any of them, just check them all out, give them all a chance. And you'll see here on the emulation, the graphical capabilities of this emulator are so good. There might be a flicker here and there in some textures, and that is just part of the emulation, but this is a hell of a lot easier to play than taking an original Model 2 arcade board out of your closet and hooking it up. Trust me, I know. I've got a couple in my closet, and now I can play them on Steam Deck. If you run into any problems or have any issues, leave me a comment down below. I'll try to help you guys out. And don't forget that you do need to just make sure that you've actually installed the Model 2 emulator in the manage settings in EmuDeck before you start. But short of that, go play and have some fun. Bye-bye.